I'm not good. I'm not good enough. I know that. Don't make faces. There's only the one in my team. I try to do my best. It's all.
Today you have to win for one reason. We have to win for David Silva and his young friend Jessica. When you go out there and you enjoy for him. And we don't go out there and we suffer for him.
We are tired. You. We are tired. You. You are not tired, guys. You want to be champion.
Pep Guardiola is undoubtedly one of the best managers of all time, not just because of what he's won, but simply because of his influence on the game as well. As it seems like nowadays many managers are taking on Pep's style and his tactics.
And that's it, I'm just copying Pep, mate.
As there are already many Pep students who are blossoming already at their respective clubs. For example, Xavi just won a La Liga with Barcelona, Vincent Kompany just broke records and brought Burnley back up to the Prem, and Mikel Arteta of course, who seems to have revolutionised Arsenal and got them playing at their best again. And obviously this isn't all down to Pep, but his influence on their playing styles can be seen at times. So in this video, I'm going to be analysing how Pep got here and how he completely revolutionised the game of football, bringing huge success to all the clubs he's been at, and how he became one of the best managers we've ever seen. As many of you probably already know, Guardiola is a loyal Catalonian who spent 15 years at Barcelona as a player and had a successful time there, winning 16 trophies in 12 seasons, and was one of the main assets of Johan Cruyff's super team, who won 4 La Liga titles in a row. And even though he had much success as a player, Cruyff also noticed that Guardiola had a tactical nuance and an eye for the game that not many players have, as Guardiola played in the pivot role whilst being managed by Cruyff, which is a tactical position in itself that requires a high footballing IQ. But Guardiola absolutely bossed the pivot role because of his understanding of the game. So obviously his football intelligence is something that's always been present. And after a year of retirement as a player, Guardiola made his way back into Barcelona, this time as a manager, being appointed as the head coach in 2008 after success with the Barcelona B team. And Guardiola settled in the main role straight away, with his teachings from Johan Cruyff and his own tactical knowledge already being seen in his early career. As Guardiola kept his ruthlessness that he's well known for today, offloading very talented players from the jump, such as Ronaldinho and Zambrota, who were immediately told they were not part of Pep's plans, and then bringing in the likes of Dani Alves and Piqué, who obviously went on to have very successful careers at Barca. And well, at Barca, Pep changed the game. There's literally no other way of putting it, as he took a good but fairly lacklustre Barcelona side, who weren't meeting expectations, and completely changed the team, and kickstarted Barcelona's dominant era. And how did he kickstart, you say? Well, the man won the treble in his first season. What more can you say? Making them the first Spanish team to compete that feat, with many world-class players in their squad, such as Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, Puyol, the list goes on. And in his next 3 seasons, Guardiola went on to win another 8 trophies, including 2 La Ligas and another Champions League in 2011. But as I said in the intro, Guardiola wasn't just known for winning trophies, even though that is obviously a good label to have. But Guardiola was gradually changing football, without many people realising at the time, going against the grain and implementing a whole new style of football that no one had ever seen before, such as his tiki-taka style of play, with an emphasis on keeping possession with 1 or 2 touch passes, as well as constantly pressing the opposition every time they were out of possession. And Guardiola was also changing the entire role of certain positions, most notably the goalkeeper, who was expected to be comfortable on the ball and be able to play good passes under pressure, which is something that was deemed questionable at the time, but it worked, and basically meant that Guardiola's team had an extra outfield player, as crazy as that may sound, which can be seen in pretty much all of Pep's keepers, such as Victor Valdez, Manuel Neuer, and now Ederson at Man City. But after those 4 seasons, it was time for Pep to seek out a new challenge, which he did in 2013, when Guardiola moved to Germany's biggest club, Bayern Munich, who already had a stacked squad full of quality players like Robin, Ribéry, Thomas Muller, and many more. So everything was laid out for him, and it was time for Pep to get cooking. And Pep did fairly well at Bayern, implementing the same tactics that he had at Barca, as well as changing the role of another position on the pitch, this time the fullback, as Pep saw an opportunity to utilise his fullbacks and bring them into midfield, due to how good they were on the ball, and with the likes of Philipp Lahm and David Alaba coming into midfield to support Bayern's defence and midfield, essentially creating an extra deep line midfielder, which allowed Pep to overload the midfield instantly, help press their opposition more, as well as progress play. And to be fair, Guardiola managed to work his magic again at Bayern, winning 3 league titles in a row. But to be fair, Bayern win it every year. I mean, it's not that difficult. You could put any manager in there and they probably win it. Even I could probably win it. So 3 titles in 3 seasons, obviously not that bad, but this was probably the expectation anyway. And despite winning other major honours like the DFB Pokal, the Club World Cup and so on, there was still one trophy that eluded Guardiola and his team. And I'm sure you know what I'm on about, as Guardiola was pretty much under scrutiny and criticised for not being able to win the Champions League, despite having a world-class team and tons of money. And to be honest, Pep did actually struggle in the Champions League, and by the time Guardiola had left in 2016, a lot of people argued that Pep is nothing without the likes of Messi and his other Barcelona superstars. But in February 2016, things are about to change. But before we get into that, if you guys could do me a massive favour if you're enjoying this so far by liking and subscribing if you're new around here, as it always helps the channel. So Guardiola started his new challenge in another foreign country, this time in England, after signing a 3-year contract to Man City. And he may have not had the squad he wanted initially, but he certainly had the money to do so. So there wasn't really much room for any excuses. And like his Barca days, Pep was again pretty ruthless, pretty much eliminating City legends from the equation, such as Joe Hart and Yaya Toure, and bringing in the likes of John Stones, Claudio Bravo and Ilkay Gundogan. But just like with Bayern, Pep struggled and statistically had his worst season ever, going trophyless for the first time in his managerial career. And obviously in England, he got a lot of stick with that, with many people saying his style wasn't cut out for the English game, and that the Premier League was just far too physical and fast for him. And Guardiola even admitted that City might be his last team. But obviously since then, things have changed. Quite a lot. As a few signings later, Guardiola goes and makes history in his second season in England, making Man City the first team in Premier League history to win the league with 100 points, as well as winning the League Cup that same season. And from then on it was just pure dominance, winning the league again the season after against Liverpool by just 1 point, as well as an FA Cup and a League Cup on top of that. And by the time it was 2022, Pep had 4 Premier League titles, 2 FA Cups and 4 League Cups under his belt. But again, there was one trophy eluding him, because after numerous disappointments in the Champions League, such as the semi-final against Spurs, the quarters against Lyon and the semi-final against Madrid, Pep faced the same criticism that he had at Bayern, with many saying that Pep was a bottler and that he had an issue with overthinking in big games. And I mean, to be fair, they weren't really wrong. For example, against Lyon, Pep decided to play a 5 at the back, something that he's rarely done before. And in the Champions League final against Chelsea, he played no defensive midfielder. Not one, which was probably the root cause of their loss. And like with Bayern, Pep had a good squad at this point, as well as unlimited funds from Sheikh Mansour. However, in 2023, Pep would completely silence the haters in one of the most memorable seasons in history. And again, after a few signings later, which casually included Erling Haaland, Pep made history again last season by winning Man City their first ever Champions League, their 6th Premier League and an FA Cup all in one season, making Pep the first manager to win 2 trebles, which essentially neutralised all the criticism Pep had had over the years. And the scary thing is, Guardiola plans to stay at City for longer, having signed a contract that will keep him there until 2025 at least. And again, this season Pep has a chance to make history again by making Man City the first club in Prem history to win 4 titles in a row. And like I said at the start, Guardiola has essentially changed the way in which people play football worldwide. Most teams nowadays looking to play out from the back, as well as expecting their centre-backs to be good on the ball, as well as implementing the inverted fullback recently. I mean, just look at what Zinchenko has been doing at Arsenal. But yeah, for me personally, he's not only won a ton of trophies, but he's also revolutionised the beautiful game as we know it. And in my opinion, for me, that personally makes him the greatest. And of course, even though he's won a lot, Pep still does get criticism from time to time. For example, Pep wouldn't win anything without money, or send Pep to Barnsley and he wouldn't do anything. And you know what, I'm not going to disagree with that. But with the way Pep needs to have his players play, it's no surprise that he needs the money to buy all these world-class players. Because to be honest, it's not like a random midfielder from Barnsley or something will be able to play like De Bruyne. Sorry Barnsley fans. What I'm really interested to know is, who do you think is the best manager of all time? Do you agree with me, or is it someone else, maybe like Mourinho or Ferguson? Tell me your thoughts below. And yeah, drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and let me know what videos you want to see next. And thanks for watching. This has been Discuss Symbol.